వెల్కమ్ టు హర్షిత్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ యూట్యూబ్ ఛానల్. ఏపీ మరియు తెలంగాణలో బెస్ట్ కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ యూట్యూబ్ ఛానల్గా ప్రజెంట్ హర్షిత్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అవుతుంది. అలానే మంచి మొబైల్ యాప్ కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్కి హర్షిత్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్, దీంట్లో ఫ్రీగా అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి, చూసుకోండి.
Welcome to Harshit Institute. Good morning all of you. According to our examination point of view, GK part is very important. Because of that GK portion, in our Harshit Institute, we are introducing one good book for our preparation, that is Lucent's GK book, general knowledge book. In this book, so many topics are there, so many important topics are there, topics and chapters are there, so many important chapters are there. The first one is polity, second one economy, third one Indian history, and fourth one geography, and the fifth one science and technology, and sixth one miscellaneous. So these are the main important topics, these are the main important chapters in this book, in this general knowledge book. From this general knowledge book, every day we are discussing some most important events, most important topics. Okay, first of all, we are discussing about that polity. First of all, we are discussing about that polity. What is meant by polity? And in this polity, main important part is constitution. In our examination point of view, constitution is the most important part. That's why, first of all, we have to start from the constitution. Totally how many parts are there, how many articles are there, and at the same time how many schedules are there, what are the importance of schedules, and how the constitution was framed, what are the important events, and what are the important amendments in the constitution, and everything first of all we have to learn. After that, one by one, chapter by chapter, we have to learn all these things from this book. Okay, our constitution, our present constitution, the first constitution of India, framed and given to themselves by the people of India, was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26 November 1949. So it came into full operation with effect from 26th January 1950. Actually, it was adopted, the constitution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949. It came into full operation with effect from 26th January 1950. Okay, the constitution was originally adopted, had 22 parts. 22 parts. We know very well, parts are 22 parts. How many parts are there? 22 parts. 22 parts are there. And how many articles are there? Articles are 395. Articles are 395. Articles are 395. And schedules, how many schedules are there? Schedules are 8 schedules. When our constitution in 1950, January 26, 1950, it came into full operation. At that time, we have only the parts, 22 parts, 395 articles, and schedules are 8. Next, the constitution has originally adopted had 22 parts and 395 articles and 8 schedules. Its present text is as amended from time to time. Amendments, so many amendments are there. The constitution is the regular, it is changing. So many amendments were occurred. That's why now it was a very bulk. Whatever it may be, our Indian constitution is a very big constitution. That means it is a very large constitution, and it was a written constitution. Almost all in the world, almost all constitutions are written constitution only, exemption of United Kingdom, UK Constitution. Okay, evolution of Indian Constitution. Evolution of Indian Constitution. All the systems of ancient India do have their reflections in the Constitution of India. The direct sources of the Constitution lay in the administrative and legislative developments of the British period. In a chronological order, if you observe the chronological order, administrative and legislative reforms before 1857, before 1857, what are the reforms? What are the reforms? What are the administrative and what are the legislative reforms before 1857? So many acts were done before 1857. 1857 is the independence. That means before independence, 1947, so many reforms are there, and we have to divide into two parts, before 1857 and before 1947. Just we have to observe about that before 1857. First of all, what are the important acts? What are the important reforms? First one is Regulating Act 1773. 1773 Regulating Act. 1773 Regulating Act. This was based on the report of a committee headed by the British Prime Minister Lord North. It was in 1773. After that, Pitt's India Act 1784. Pitt's India Act 1784. Pitt's India Act. Pitt's India Act 1784. After that, these are the very, very important acts. These are the very, very important acts. These are the fundamentals to our constitution. These are the fundamentals. Next, Charter Act 1793. 1793 Charter Act. These four are the Charter Acts. These four are the Charter Acts. In Charter Act 1793, main provisions of the previous acts were considered in this act. Next, provided the payment of salaries of the members of the board and the directors. Next, in the Charter Act 1813. What is the importance of Charter Act 1813? Trade monopoly of the East India Company came into an end, and the local autonomous bodies were empowered to levy taxes. These are the most important events. In Charter Act 1833, what is the importance of Charter Act 1833? For the first time, the Governor General's government was known as the Government of India, and his council as the Indian Council. It was amended on Charter Act of 1833. Next, Charter Act 1853. What is the importance of Charter Act 1853? Recruitment of the company's employees was to be done through competitive examinations. Next, at the same time, British Parliament was empowered to put a company's governance of India is an end to in a suitable time. So these are the most important events. 1773 Regulating Act, 1784 Pitt's India Act, 1793, 1813, 1833, 1853. These four are the most important Charter Acts. These years are very, very important. Next, at the same time, in the next event, what after 1857? After 1857, what was happening? Administrative and legislative reforms after 1857. The Government of India Act 1858. The Government of India Act. And what is the importance of the Government of India Act 1858? The British Crown decided to assure sovereignty over India from the East India Company. In an apparent sequences of the revolt of 1857 described as armed sepoy mutiny by the British historians and remembered as the first war of independence by the Indians. The first statute of the governments of India under the direct rule of the British government was the Government of India Act 1858. These are the important events in 1858 Act. Next, Indian Council Act. Indian Council Act 1861. 1861 Indian Council Act. Indian 1861 Indian Council Act. This act enabled the Governor General to associate representatives of the Indian people with the work of legislation by nominating them to his expanded council. And after that, Indian Council Act 1892. 1892 Indian Council Act. Indian Council Act. What is the importance of Indian Council Act 1892? The councils were to have to power to distinguish the budget and the addressing questions to the executive. Next, the non-official members of the Indian Legislative Council were to be nominated by the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and the Provisional Legislative Councils, while the non-official members of the provisional councils were to be nominated by certain local bodies such as universities, district boards and municipalities. These 2 points are the main important things were happened in that Council Act, Indian Council Act 1892. Next, Minter-Marley reforms. Minter-Marley reforms and the Indian Council Act 1909. 1909. This is also Indian Council Act or Minter-Marley reforms. The Minter-Marley reforms and the Indian Council Act 1909. Reforms recommended by the Secretary of the States for India, Lord Marley, and the Viceroy Lord Minto were implemented by the Indian Council Act 1909. The maximum number of additional members of the Indian Legislative Council was raised from 16 to 60. 16 to 60. According to this act, according to this Indian Council Act, the Indian Legislative Council was raised from 16 to 60. That is also most important event. Next, the size of the provisional legislative councils were enlarged by including elected non-official members, so that the official majority was gone. Next important point in this act, an element of election was also introduced in the legislative council at the center also, but here the official majority there was nominated. The legislative councils were empowered to move resolutions on the budget. These are the most important events written in that Minter-Marley Reforms Act 1909. The Government of India Act 1915. 1915. The Government of India Act. The Government of India Act. This is also most important. This act was passed to consolidate the provisions of the preceding Government of Indian Acts. Next, the most important another act is Montagu-Chelmsford Report. Montagu-Chelmsford Report and the Government of India Act 1919. 1919. This is Montagu-Chelmsford. Montagu-Chelmsford Report and the Government of India Act 1919. Then Secretary of the State for India E.S. Montagu and the Governor General Lord Chelmsford formulated proposals for the Government of India Act 1919. Responsible government in this provisions was to be introduced without impairing the responsibility of the government. And in this act, in this Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms Act, they are implemented the dual government system. the dual government system. Next, the subjects of the administration were to be divided into two categories. One is central and another one is provision. Here, the most important thing is it was divided into dual government. According to this act, the government was divided into two parts. Government was divided into two parts, two categories. One is central and second one is provisional status. Next, central subject. Central subjects were those which were exclusively kept under the council of the central government. Central subjects were the completely, exclusively kept under the control of central government. The provisions of the provisional subjects were subdivided into transferred and reserved subjects. These are the main important events was occurred in that meeting, in that act, 1919 act. At the same time, another important act was occurred in that Simon Act, that was in 1927. The commission headed by the Sir John Simon. Simon Commission. Now we are discussing about the Simon Commission. These are the before our Indian Constitution before our Indian Constitution framing, these incidents were happened. These are the most important events before our Indian Constitution, before our independence. This commission, the Simon Commission, now we are discussing about the Simon Commission. The Simon Commission, headed by the Sir John Simon, constituted in 1927 to inquire into the working of the Act of 1919. Why the Simon Commission was came to India? To observe and to inquire how it is working. Which one is working? In Act of 1919. Act of 1919, how it is working. So they want to be inquire these conditions and the situations of that Act. Okay, placed its report in 1930. The report was examined by the British Parliament and the Government of India bill was drafted accordingly. So the Simon Commission was constituted in 1927 and it gave the report, it submitted the report to the British Parliament in 1930. Okay, the Government of India Act 1935, the most important act, the Government of India Act 1935. 1935, Government of Indian Act. The Act of 1935 prescribed a federation taking the province and the Indian states as units. It was optional for the Indian states to join the federation and since they never joined, the federation never come into being. The Act divided legislative powers between the center and the province. Here, the executive authority of the province was also exercised by the government on behalf of the crown and not as a subordinate of the Governor General. The governor was required to act with the advice of ministers responsible to the legislature. And in 6 provinces, the legislature was bicameral, comprising legislative assembly and a legislative council. In the province, the legislature was unicameral. The Governor General had independent powers of legislation with those legislature things. The same way, after that, the Cripps Mission. The Cripps Mission was in 1942. 1942, Cripps. 1942, Cripps Mission. In March 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of the British Cabinet, came with a draft declaration on the proposal of the British government. These proposals were to be adopted at the end of the Second World War, provided the Congress and the Muslim League could accept them. Here, Second World War means we know very well 1939 to 1945, the Second World War. But in the Cripps mission in March 1942, these proposals were to be adopted at the end of the Second World War. It was constituted in 1942, but these proposals were adopted at the end of the Second World War, means around 1945. Next, according to the proposals, the Constitution of India was to be framed by the elected Constituent Assembly by the Indian people. And the Constitution should give Indian dominion status. There should be one Indian Union comprising all the provisions had to be the states. These are the most important things headed by the Simon. They were recommended all these things. Cabinet Mission Plan. In March 1946, Cabinet Mission Plan, Cabinet Mission. 1946, Lord Attlee sent a cabinet mission to India consisting to their cabinet ministers, namely Lord Fithick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps and the A.V. Alexander. These three came to India in 1946 and they gave some recommendations to the England Parliament. Next, after that, the Mountbatten Plan. The plan of transfer of a power to the Indians and partition of the country was laid down to the Mountbatten Plan. It was given a formal shape by a statement made by a British government on 3rd June 1947. So, Mountbatten Plan. The plan of a transfer of a power to the Indians and the partition of the country was laid down in the Mountbatten Plan. That is the most important. Next, the Indian Independence Act 1947. The Indian Independence Act 1947 of the British Parliament. Here, after that, the Constituent Assembly making the Constitution. Here, these are the most important steps before our framing of Constitution, Indian Constitution. First one is the 1973 Regulating Act, 1984 Petition Act, and 1793, 1813, 1833, 1853. Only the gap between one Charter Act and another Charter Act is only 20 years gap is there. And after that, 1857 Government India Act, 1861 Indian Council Act, 1892 Indian Council Act 2, and 1909 this is Indian Council Act, Minter-Marley Act, Minter-Marley Indian Council Act. 1915 the Government Act of India. 1919 Montagu-Chelmsford Act. 1935 Government of India Act. The 1935 Act, the Government of India Act is the most important act. It is a skeleton of our Indian Constitution. It is a skeleton of our Indian Constitution. Which one? 1935 Indian Act. Here Government Indian Act. The Constitution Assembly and making the Constitution. How it was happened, already we learned how it was happened, how the Constitution was going to be framed. Next we are discussing about the Cabinet Mission. About the Cabinet Mission already declared some event, some important things, how to frame the Indian Constitution. Next, each province and each Indian state were allotted seats in a proportion of its population, roughly in the ratio of 1 to a million. 1 to a million. The seats so assigned were distributed among the main communities in each province. The main community recognized were 6 Muslims and generals. Okay. Important committees of the Constituent Assembly and their chairmen. Here, main important committees and their chairmen. Now we are discussing about the Constitution. main important committees and their chairmen. Committee on the rules and procedures. Committee on the rules of procedures and steering committee. And these two are Committee on Rules and Procedure and Steering Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And Finance and Staff Committee, Ad hoc Committee, Union Constitution Committee, and Union Powers Committee and States Committee. These committees are headed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Once again, Committee on the Rules of Procedures. Committee on the Rules of Procedures, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And Steering Committee also, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And Finance, and these two are headed by the Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Finance and Staff Committee, Ad hoc Committee on the National Flag, Union Constitution Committee, Union Powers Committee, States Committee. These committees are headed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And important committees are Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights and Minorities and Tribal and Excluded Areas are by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Next, House Committee, B. Pattabi Sitaramaya. Orders of Business Committee, K.M. Munshi. Next, Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly, G.V. Maulankar. Next, Minorities Subcommittee, H.C. Mukherjee. Next, most important, Fundamental Rights Subcommittee, J.B. Krupalani. And Northeast Frontier Tribal Areas and Assam Excluded Partially Areas and Subcommittees. This subcommittee was by Gopinath Bardoli. And these are the most important committees excluded by the Eastern States Committee, A.V. Thakkar. These are the most important committees. Among all these committees, most important committees are Drafting Committee by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Drafting Committee headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Next, Union Constitution Committee, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Finance and Staff Committee, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And Steering Committee, Committee on the Rules of Procedure. Next, House Committee. These are the most important. Minority subcommittees, these are the most important committees in our framing of Indian Constitution. The total number of members of the Constituent Assembly was 385, of whom 93 were representatives from the Indian states and the 292 from the provinces of British India. After the partition of India, number of members of the Constituent Assembly came into 299, of whom 284 were actually present on the 26th November 1949 and signed on the finally approved Constitution of India. The Constituent Assembly, which had been elected for undivided India, held in first meeting on December 9, 1946 and reassembled on August 14, 1947 as the Sovereign Constituent Assembly for the Dominion of India. It took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days for the Constituent Assembly for finalize the Constitution. Next, resolution was moved to the first session of the Constitution Assembly on 13th December 1946 by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, which was adopted the considerable deliberation and the debate in the Assembly on 22nd January 1947. The following objectives were embodied in the resolution. Okay. In the same way, the members of the drafting committee, the drafting committee headed by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, already we discussed about the point, and they submitted a draft Constitution of India to the President of the Assembly on 21st February 1948. That is the most important date. We have to remember that word. Remember that year and the date. 21st February 1948. What is the importance of that? The Dr. B.R. Ambedkar or the drafting committee submitted a draft Constitution of India to the President of the Assembly on 21st February 1948. The members of drafting committee were N. Gopal Swami Iyengar, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, K. M. Munshi, Muhammad Sadullah, B. L. Mittal. B. L. Mittal later replaced by N. Madhavrao. N. Madhavrao. In place of B. L. Mittal, later they are replaced by N. Madhavrao. Next, Dr. D. P. Khaitan, replaced on death by T.T. Krishnamachari. These are the members of the drafting committee. Next, the third and the final reading of the draft was completed on November 26, 1947. On this date, the signature of the President of the Assembly was appended to it and the Constitution was declared as passed. The provisions relating to citizenship, elections and the provisional parliament, etc. were implemented with immediate effect, that is from the 26th November 1949. The rest of the provisions of the Constitution came into force on January 26, 1950. And this date is referred to in the Constitution as the date of its commencement. Next, different sources of the Indian Constitution. This is the most important thing. Different sources of the Indian Constitution. Here, although the skeleton of the Constitution was derived from the Government of India Act 1935, already we discussed about that one. The 1935 Act was the most important act because it is the main pillar to our Indian Constitution. It is a skeleton of our Indian Constitution, 1935 Indian Government of Indian Act. Many provisions were imported from other constitutions of the world. Some of them are listed below, and now now I am going to be write some of them along the Government of India Act 1935. Here, so many things are derived from taken from our Indian Constitution, our Government of Indian Act 1935. Many provisions were imported from other constitutions of the world. Some of them are now I am explaining. Now I will tell you what are the countries and from where we borrowed the important events from other countries. Government of India Act 1935, this act formed the basis of the blueprint of the Constitution of India. It is the skeleton of Indian Constitution. It is the blueprint of Indian Constitution. Which one? Government of India Act 1935. With the features of federal system, office of the governor, emergency powers, etc. Besides, the Constitution of India has borrowed some other things from other countries. First one is Britain Constitution. What we are borrowed from Britain Constitution? First one is lawmaking procedures, rule of law, single citizenship, bicameral parliamentary system, office of COG. Here, first one is Britain Parliament. What we borrowed from Britain government or Britain Constitution? Lawmaking procedure, rule of law, single citizenship, bicameral parliamentary system, office of COG, office of Control Director General. These are all are borrowed from the Britain, Constitution of Britain. And the second one is Constitution of USA, Constitution of USA. From USA, what we are borrowed? What are the important things? What are the important rules and regulations? What are the important events we are borrowed from USA Constitution, American Constitution? Independence of judiciary, independence of judiciary. Next, judicial review, fundamental rights, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, preamble and functions of President and Vice President. About the preamble and functions of President and Vice President. All these things borrowed from the USA Constitution. Okay, once again, Constitution of USA. Independence of judiciary, judicial review, most important. So many times it was asked in the two examinations that judicial review, fundamental rights, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, preamble, and functions of President and Vice President. Next, Constitution of Canada. Constitution of Canada. And third one is Canada. From Canada's Constitution, what we are borrowed? What sources? What important things? What important things were borrowed from the Canadian Constitution? Federation with a strong center. Federation with a strong center to provide residuary powers to the center. Supreme Court's advisory jurisdiction. Here these all are the from Canadian Constitution. Next, Constitution of Ireland. Constitution of Ireland. Directive principles from Ireland we borrowed from important events, that is directive principles of state policy. Next, method of presidential elections and the nomination of members to the Rajya Sabha by the President. These are borrowed from the Ireland. At the same time, another thing, German Constitution, the Weimar Constitution of Germany. Provisions concerning the suspension of the fundamental rights during emergency. It was from German Constitution. And Australia. Constitution of Australia. Idea of the concurrent list. We have three lists are there. One is central list, state list, and concurrent list. The idea of the concurrent list, this idea was borrowed from the Constitution of Australia. And trade and commerce policies, this idea also we are borrowed from the Constitution of Australia. Next, Constitution of South Africa. Constitution of South Africa. Amendment with 2/3 majority in a parliament and election of members of Rajya Sabha on the basis of proportional representation. Regarding the Rajya Sabha elections, these important events are borrowed from the South African Constitution. Next, Constitution of France. Constitution of France. Republican system. Most important. Republican system. This system was borrowed from Constitution of France. Next, principles of liberty. Principles of liberty. Equality and fraternity. These all things, these all issues derived from the, borrowed from the Constitution of France. And the Constitution from USSR. USSR, that is a former USSR. Former USSR means before it was called as USSR, now we are calling it one Russia. It was divided into 13 countries. Okay, that is a different matter. Okay, Constitution of former USSR, fundamental duties, ideals of justice in preamble. These things are borrowed, these all things are borrowed from different countries' constitutions. Okay, now we are discussing about the important articles of the constitution. The most important things now we are discussing. Important articles of the constitution. Important parts and articles. Important parts and articles of the constitution. Here, part 1, totally how many parts are there? Totally 22 parts are there. Totally parts are 22. Articles are 395. Articles are 395. Okay. The first part, the importance of the first part. And in this first part, how many articles are there? How many articles are there? And what are the important things in it? Okay. Part 1. Part 1, articles are 1 to 4. Articles are here 1 to 4. Here parts, here articles. 1 to 4 articles. Here in the part 1, it tells about the union and its territory. The union and its territory. The union and its territory. Part 1, articles 1 to 4. And part 2, here 5 to 11 tells about the citizenship. Citizenship. Like this, I will explain all these 22 parts and articles also. Part 3, fundamental rights, most important. Part 3, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, from which article to which article? Here in this fundamental rights, 12 to 35. 12 to 35. These are the fundamental rights. In this fundamental rights part is very important. The part 3, third part is very important. The first part is tells about the union and its territories and the boundaries, and about all these things we can observe in the part 1. And the part 2 about the citizenship. In the part 2, article 5 to article 11 about the citizenship. Next, in this part 3, 12 to 35 fundamental rights. In these fundamental rights, 12 is a definition, 13 is a law of consisting with the deorganization of the fundamental rights, and 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, these are the right to equality. 14 to 18, right to equality, most important. At the same time, 19 to 22, right to freedom, and 23 and 24, right against the exploitation, and 25, 26, 27 and 28, right to freedom of religion, 25, 26, 27 and 28. These 4 articles are very important. These 4 articles describes about that right to freedom of religion. Next, 29 and 30, cultural and educational rights, and 31A, B, C are there. 31A, 31B, 31C. These 3 are saving of certain laws, and 32, 33, 34 and 35, right to constitutional remedies. right to constitutional remedies 32 to 35. So here part 3 tells about that fundamental rights. Most important, 12 to article 12 to article 35 tells about the fundamental rights. And part 4, directive principles of state policy. Here how many in this how many articles are there in part 4? How many articles are there? Here it will be start from 36 to 51. 36 to 51. Directive principles of state policy. 36 to 51. Next, and the 4A, here part 4A. All the directive principles are finished. Now, fundamental duties. 51A. Fundamental duties. 51A, fundamental duties. And part 5, the union government. Union government. Part 5, the union government. In this, so many chapters are there. It will start from 52, article 52 to article 52. In this union government, so many subtopics are there. In this union government, first one is the executive. Chapter 1, executive. Executive means the President of India and executive powers of the union, election of President and election of Vice President and powers of the President and the Vice President. Next, Council of Ministers, Attorney General of India, and at the same time, their duties and how they will be elected, and each and everything was described in that articles. So these are the first chapter, the executive, in the central government executive. Chapter 2, Parliament. And that chapter 3, legislative powers of the President. And chapter 4, the union judiciary. The union judiciary means establishment and constitution of Supreme Court, salaries, etc., appointment of acting Chief Justice, appointment of ad hoc judges, and Supreme Court to be court of record. Next, seat of Supreme Court, and everything was discussed in this matter in these articles. Next, chapter 5, Control and Auditor General of India, and the states. Fifth chapter. Now, the sixth one is states. Here, up to 149. Here, 152 to 239 about the state government. Here, sixth one about the state government. The government at the state level, the executive, the state legislature, the high courts, and the subordinate courts, everything was discussed in this articles. Article 152 to 137. About the state government. In this state government, the executive powers of the state government and the state legislature, the high courts, the powers of the high courts, the formation of the high courts, and as well as the subordinate courts. All these things are described in this articles 152 to 237. So sixth part is about the states, and seventh part, the seventh part was removed from our Indian Constitution. It was removed. Why it was removed? All after that we have to, one discussion is there, and in that I will explain it very clearly about the seventh part. Now we are going to be start about the eighth part. What is the importance of eighth part? Eighth part, here 239 to 241 articles. 241 articles about the union territories. Union territories. About the, this tells about the union territories in eighth part. In the ninth part, panchayats. The panchayats is in ninth part. Article 243 to, sorry, here 243 to 243 A to O. Panchayats. Next, the 10th one. The 10th one is here, the 9th one, 9th A, 9th B. Three parts are there. 9th one panchayats, 9th A municipalities, 9th B, that is the corporations, about the cooperative societies. These three parts are included in the 9th part only. So we have to remember 9th part is very, very important. 9th part is very, very important. 9th part is the panchayats, the municipalities, the cooperative societies. 9th A, 9th, and 9th A, and 9th B. Next, 10th one. What is the importance of 10th one? The 10th one, it tells about the scheduled and tribal areas. 244 to, here 244, scheduled and tribal areas. Scheduled and tribal areas, 10th part. And the 11th part, 245 to 263, relations between the union and the states. That is the most important part. 11th part. 11th part is most important part. 11th part is most important part. Article 245 to 263. Article 245 to 263. Relations between central and state. Central and state. Okay, briefly, now once again we are discussing about all these 11 parts. 11 parts, total 22 parts are there. In these 22 parts, first of all, we have to discuss about these 11 parts. The part 1 is 1 to 4 articles, the union and territories. Next, the second part tells about the 5 to 11 articles, citizenship. And third part is very, very important. That is 12 to 35, article 12 to article 35. It describes about the fundamental rights. And fourth part, the articles are 36 to 51. Directive principles of state policy. 4A is 51A, fundamental duties. And the fifth one, part fifth. The part fifth is about the union government. Here, article 52 to 52, from here to 149. Union government means executive powers of the president, executive powers of the vice president, and Supreme Court and High Court, Supreme Court judges, and union government officials, and each and everything was described in this union government part. And the sixth one, What is importance of the sixth part? Article 152 to 237 state government. That is about the state government. And the eighth part. What is importance of the eighth part? Eighth part tells about the union territories. Union territories. The articles are 239 to 241. 239 to 241. 239 to 241 articles tells about the union territories. Next, ninth one. Ninth part is 243A to 243O, that is panchayats. In this ninth part, 9th A and 9th B also there. 9th A and 9th B also there. And 10th part, what is the importance of 10th part? Here, scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. It will tell us about the scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Next, 11th part. 11th part articles are 245 to 263. 245 to 263. These article tells about the relations between the central government and the state government. Central government and state government. So, up to 11 parts we are discussed about all these things. Now, 12th one. What is the importance of 12th one? 12th part. 12th part article 264 to 300. Here, 12th part. In this 12th part, articles are 264 to 300. Finance, property, contracts and suits and other things. So, it describes about, it tells about the financial matters. And 13th. What is the importance of 13th part? In this 13th part, in this we have to remember that 300A one article is there. 300A article is right to property. 300A is equal to is a right to property article. Okay. Part 13. Part 13 is article 301 to 307. It tells about the trade and commerce of intercourse within India. Trade and commerce. 13 is trade and commerce. And 14. Part 14. What is the importance of part 14? Services under the union and the states. How many articles are there? In this 14, 309 to 323. Central and state. Services under the union and the state governments. 309. In this 309 to 323, recruitment and the conditions of the service of a person serving the union of estates and the tenure of office of persons of serving the union or state government. Next, all India services. 312. Most important, 312. It describes about, it tells about the all India services. All India services. And 315. Public service commissions for the union and the states. Next, 316. Appointment and terms of office of members. Next, 323. Reports of the Public Service Commission. So, these are all the most important recruitments and service conditions. 309 to 323 about the services under the union and the state government. 309 to 323. After that, part 14A. Part 14A. It tells about the tribunals. 14A. Tribunals. Tells about the tribunals. And 15 is elections. 15 elections. Okay, in these elections, here superintendents of the directions and the control of elections and elections of the House of the Peoples of Parliament and local body elections and all elections from central level to state level and the local bodies elections, and each and everything was described in that elections part, that is in 15th part, article 324 to 329. 324 to 329 about elections. And the 16th one is special provision for certain classes. Certain classes means here depressed classes are there. Some depressed classes are there. For them, some special provisions are there from article 330 to 342. 330 to 342. Special category. Special category provisions is in section 16. And the 17 official languages. Languages. About the languages. And part 18 emergency provisions. About emergency. In this emergency provisions, 350 to 360, 352 to 352, 356 and 360. These three are the most important articles. These three are the most important: 352, 356, 360. Emergencies. It tells about the emergencies. Next, here part 18, part 19 miscellaneous. 19 is miscellaneous. And part 20, what is the importance of part 20? It is amendment of the constitution. Most important, article 368. Article 368, amendment of constitution. Article 368, amendment of constitution. And part 21, what is the importance of part 21? Here article 369 to 392, temporary, transitional and special provisions for the special status states. Okay, special status for states. Special status for states. Special status for states. And 22, the last one, the last part, 22 part, article 393 to 395. 393 to 395. Here, short title, commencement, authoritative text in Hindi and repeals. All these things are mentioned in the last part. So, this is the last part. This is the 22 is the last part. Short titles, commencements. So these are the most important part 1, 2, 3, 4, like this 11 parts already we have discussed all these things, and 12th part, 12, 13, 14, 15, okay, 14 and 14A, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. Here 12th part, the 12th part tells about the financial positions, financial situations. Next about the budget and each and everything. 12th part. And the 13th part tells about the trade and commerce. And the 14th part tells about the services of the central government and the state governments. Services of the central government and state governments. And fourth part tells about the tribunals. 14A tells about the tribunals. And 15th part tells about the elections. It tells about describes about the elections. And 16th part tells about the special category people and their provisions. Here 332, 342. And 17th part tells about the languages. In our Indian constitution, how many languages are there? About these languages, the importance of languages, and totally how many languages are there in our Indian constitution, each and everything was mentioned in that part 17. Next, part 18, emergency articles. About the emergency is the national level, state level, and the financial emergency. Financial emergency, state level emergency, and the central level emergency. These three emergencies are described in this part 18. This is emergency 352 central, 356 state, 360 financial emergencies. Okay. 19. Part 19 is miscellaneous articles. Next, part 20 describes about the amendment of constitution. How our constitution should be amended. This was described in this article 368. And part 21, specialization for states. The special status for the states. And the 22nd part, the last part is that is short titles, commencement, and authoritative test in Hindi. And each and everything was described in this part. Next, already we discussed about the parts, and briefly we discussed about the parts and articles. Now we are going to be discussing about schedules of the Indian Constitution. The second part. So thank you very much. Okay, now let's start about that schedules of the Indian Constitution. What are the important schedules in our Indian Constitution? Already we have discussed about that one. Total articles, schedules, and parts. Already we have completed articles and parts. Now we are discussing about the schedules of Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India at the time of its adoption had only 8 schedules. The first schedule tells about states and union territories. The first schedule. And in this, totally how many states are there, how many union territories are there, what are the boundaries, and each and everything described in that part, in that schedule number 1. And the schedule number 2, second schedule. In this second schedule, part A, part B, part C, part D, and part E. 5 parts are there. In second schedule. The second schedule, part A, B, C, D, and E. Here 5 parts are there. Part A, salary and emoluments of the President and the Governor of States. Next, part B is omitted. And part C, salaries and emoluments of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker and Chairman and the Vice Chairman of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and State Legislative Assembly and Councils. And part D, salary and emoluments of the judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts. And part E, salaries of the emoluments of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. And third schedule, the third schedule forms of oaths and affirmations of members of Legislative Council and legislative members and judges. And So, okay, the third one, already we discussed about this one. And the third one, the salaries, okay. Here the second one is salaries of state government and central government officials. Okay, the third one, third schedule, forms of oaths and affirmations of the members of legislature, ministers and judges. Here oaths. And fourth schedule, the fourth schedule, allocation of states to state and union territories in the Rajya Sabha. Seats in the Rajya Sabha. The fourth one is seats in the Rajya Sabha. And what is meant by fifth schedule? The fifth schedule, administration and control of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Here the fifth schedule is administration and control of scheduled areas. Administration and control of scheduled tribes and scheduled tribe areas. And the sixth schedule, administration of tribal areas and northeastern states. Here administration and control of northeastern states. And the seventh schedule, distribution of powers between the union and the state government. That means already we have discussed about that one. The three lists are there. First one is union list, second one is state list, and the third one is a concurrent list. The seventh schedule describes distribution of powers between the union and the state government. We have three lists are there: union list, state list and concurrent list. So the seventh schedule is distribution of powers. Distribution of powers. Seventh schedule belongs to distribution of powers, and eighth schedule belongs to description of 22 languages recognized by the Constitution. Seventh, eighth schedule is about languages. Eighth schedule describes about the languages. The description of the 22 languages recognized by the Constitution of India. Next, ninth schedule. The ninth schedule, validation of certain acts and regulations. Ninth schedule is validation of certain acts or regulations. That is the ninth schedule. And the 10th schedule, provisions as to the disqualification on grounds of defection, anti-defection law introduced by the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. The schedule followed latest development by the 91st Amendment to the Constitution in 2003. And the 11th schedule is powers and authority and responsibilities of the panchayats. 29 subjects over which the panchayats have jurisdiction refer to 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. And the 12th schedule, powers and authorities and responsibilities of municipalities. 18 subjects are there. In this, 18 subjects are there. So here the 11th schedule and the 12th schedule is the most important. All schedules are important. Among all these schedules, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th 12th schedules are very, very important in our examination point of view. 11th schedule, powers and authorities of panchayatis, 11th schedule, and 12th schedule is powers and authorities and responsibilities of municipalities. These are the most important schedules. Next, some important amendments of the constitution. Some important amendments of the constitution. Here, so many amendments are there, occurred till now, but among all these, most important amendments and their importances and when they are constituted, that here also most important. The first Constitutional Amendment Act 1951. The first one is 1951. The first Constitutional Amendment Act was held in 1951. This amendment added in Article 19(6) brought to changes in the right to private property. It belongs to the Private Property Act. Private Property Act. And the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1956. 1956. This is the seventh one. And 1950s. Through the same implementation of the State Recognition Act was made possible. In this, Part A, Part B and Part C is enforced with Part C is in about the union territories. The seats in the Rajya Sabha and the state legislature were reallocated. It has also affected changes in regarding of additional and acting judges and high court judges and other jurisdictions. Here, the 10th Constitutional Amendment, 10th one is 10th Constitutional Amendment Act 1961 and 12th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962 and 13th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962 and 14th also 1962. 13th and 14th, these also 1962. 10th one and 10th one is 1961, 12th one 1962, 13th Constitutional Amendment Act 1962 and 14th Constitutional Amendment Act, that is also 1962. Next, 15th Constitutional Amendment Act 1963. 15th 1963. 15th Constitutional Amendment Act is in 1963. Next, the 16th Constitutional Amendment Act is in also 1963 and 19th Constitutional Amendment Act 1966. 21st Constitutional Amendment Act was in 1967. 24th Constitutional Amendment Act was in 1971. The 25th Constitutional Amendment Act was in 1971. And 26th Constitutional Amendment Act 1971. This amendment withdraw the reorganization of the rules of the principal states and their privacy purpose of was abolished. And the 30th Constitutional Amendment Act 1972. The 31st Constitutional Amendment Act 1973. By this amendment, 31st Constitutional Amendment Act 1973, by this amendment, the seats of the Lok Sabha was increased from 525 to 545, but reduced the representation of UTs in Lok Sabha from 25 to 20. The 31st Constitutional Amendment is most important. It was held in 1973. By this amendment, the seats of the Lok Sabha was increased from 525 to 545, but reduced the representation of UTs in Lok Sabha from 25 to 20. Next, 35th, 35th Constitutional Amendment Act 1974. 1974. According status of the association state in Sikkim by ending its protracting kingdom status, which was a novel concept introduction of the constitution. Next, 36th Constitutional Amendment Act 1975 made Sikkim a full-fledged state of the Union of India. That is a 36th Constitutional Amendment Act. Next, 38th Constitutional Amendment Act. What is the importance of 38th Constitutional Amendment Act? It was held in 1975. 1975. Here, clarified that declaration of emergency by the President and the promulgation of ordinance by the President of governments cannot be challenged in any court of any ground. That is a 38th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1975. 39th Constitutional Amendment Act 1975. The disputes or questions regarding elections of President, Vice President, Prime Minister and Speaker of Lok Sabha were taken out of the purview of judicial review of the Supreme Court of High Court. Supreme Court or High Court. The 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. This is the most important Constitutional Amendment Act. The 42nd, generally we are calling this 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act as a mini Constitution of India. It is a mini Constitution of India. The 42nd Amendment made fundamental changes in the constitutional structure and incorporated the words socialist, secular and integrity in the preamble. Integrity in the preamble. So, the 42nd Amendment made fundamental changes in the constitutional structure. The total structure, so many fundamental changes are there occurred in main constitution. It incorporated the word socialist, secular and integrity in the preamble. Fundamental duties were added in the part 4A. Fundamental duties were added in part 4A. Directive principles were given presence over fundamental rights, and any law made to this effect by the Parliament was kept beyond the scope of judicial review by the court. It made the power of Parliament supreme so far as amendment to the Constitution was concerned. It authorized the Supreme Court to transfer certain cases from one High Court to another and redignified the right jurisdiction of the High Courts. It provided for administrative tribunals for speedy justice. It empowered the center to deploy armed forces in any state to deal with the grave law and order situations. So these are the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act is called as a mini Constitution of India. It was held in 1976. The most important word secularist, socialist, secular and integrity. These three words are incorporated in our main constitution. And the 43rd Constitutional Amendment is 1977. 1977. The 43rd Amendment Act is also a very important act regarding to the High Courts and other courts. It gave so many instructions and so many changes are happened in this 43rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Now 44th Constitutional Amendment Act is also most important. Like 42nd, 44th also most important act. The amendment was brought by the Janata Party government, which repealed repealed some of the changes affected by the 42nd Amendment Act. So, in this 42nd Amendment Act, so many changes are there. There's the Congress government, they input so many things in the 42nd Amendment Act. But in 1978, the Janata government deleted so many things from 42nd Amendment Act. Next, the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1985, the 55th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1986, and at the same time 61, that is the 61st Constitutional Amendment Act 1988 and 62nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1989, and at the same time 70th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Elected at Article 54 and 368 to include members of the Legislative Assembly of Union Territories of Delhi and Pondicherry in the Electoral College for the election of the President. That is mentioned in the 17th Constitutional Amendment Act. And 71st Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, it included Manipuri, Konkani and Nepalese languages in the 18th schedule. In the 18th schedule. Next, 81st Constitutional Amendment Act. It was held in 2000. This amendment, Article 16(1) of the Constitution, and added a new clause, that is 4B. After this clause 4A to the Article 16(1) of the Constitution. Next, the new clause 4B ends the 50% ceiling on reservation for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and other backward classes in backlog vacancies. That is 81st Constitutional Amendment Act. Next, 82nd Constitutional Amendment Act 2000. This amendment restored the relaxation in qualifying marks and standards of evaluation in both job reservation and promotions to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, which was set aside by Supreme Court's judgment in 1996. And 84th Constitutional Amendment Act 2001. This amendment provided that till the publication of the relevant figures of the first census after 2026, the ascertaination of the population of the state following purposes shall be made on the basis of the census shown against each of them. Elections of the President under Article 55, 1971 census. Allotment of seats in each state in Lok Sabha 1971 census. Next, division of state into territorial Lok Sabha Constitution 1991 census. So these are the most amendments were occurred in 2000. 93rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2005 provided reservation in admissions in private unaided educational institutions for the students belonging to scheduled caste or scheduled tribes and other backward classes. And 100th Constitutional Amendment, it was in 2015. Amendment in this first schedule of the Constitution of India to give effect to the acquiring of territories by India and the transfer of a certain territories to Bangladesh and conferment of citizenship rights to residents of enclave consequences. This all things was mentioned in the 100th Constitutional Amendment. So, so many amendments are there. Later, after that, we can discuss the remaining constitutional amendments. Some special features of the Indian constitutions. That is also most important. Some special features of the Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India is the lengthiest and the most comprehensive of all the written constitutions of the world. The Constitution of India is the lengthiest and the most comprehensive of all the written constitutions of the world. Next, originally the Constitution consists of 395 articles divided into 2 parts and 8 schedules. Already we discussed about that. Unlike the federal constitutions of the USA and Australia, the Indian Constitution lays down provisions relating to the governmental machinery not only in the center but also in the states. Next, the Indian Constitution provides for the matters of administrative details. The Constitution contains detailed provisions relating to the center-state relations, including the emergency provisions. And the special status has been given to Jammu and Kashmir and some other states such as Nagaland, Mizoram, Assam, Gujarat, and etc. Under the Constitution, the people of India are the ultimate sovereign. That is the most important. Under this Constitution, under our Constitution, the people of India are the ultimate sovereign. Ultimate sovereign. The Constitution of India establishes a parliamentary form of government both at the center and the states. Next, the Indian Constitution, though written, is sufficiently flexible. It is a written constitution, we know very well. It is the lengthiest constitution and a written constitution, but sometimes it is flexible also. The Constitution declares certain fundamental rights of the individuals. It is a unique feature of the Indian Constitution that it makes the citizens the part of the basic law of the land. And one of the most important and unique feature of the Indian Constitution is the provisions of the directive principles of the state policy to secure a truly welfare state. And the Indian Constitution distributes the legislative subjects on which the Parliament and the state legislature can enact laws under this list: union list, state list, and concurrent list. So, the Indian Constitution, unlike other federal constitutions, provide for a single unified judiciary with the Supreme Court at the apex, the High Court in the middle, and the subordinate courts at the bottom. So, the system of the courts it is very clear. It is very clear. The apex court is Supreme Court, and the middle level, the High Court, and the bottom level is subordinate courts. There are provisions in the Constitution to ensure independence of judiciary. And an outstanding feature of the Constitution is Panchayat Raj, the most important. The outstanding feature of the Constitution is Panchayat Raj. The idea for the organizing village panchayats was provided in the Constitution under Article 40 of Part 4, which received constitutional legitimacy and through the 73rd Amendment of the Indian Constitution. Next, federal and unitary features of the Indian Constitution. These are the most important, what we have discussed is the most important events. So, the important features of the Indian Constitution, and the amendments of the Indian Constitutions, these are very, very useful in our examination point of view. Thank you very much.